everyone, it's Jessica Pock from Mirror Lake Elementary. Thanks for tuning in today. I have a fun read aloud that you may be familiar with. It's called I Wanna Iguana, written by Karen Kaufman Orloff and David Cottrell. The story is about a boy named Alex who is trying to persuade or convince his mom to let him have a pet. I wonder if any of you has ever tried to be persuasive. Maybe you wanted a certain video game or needed some money for a toy or wanted extra screen time, and you had to persuade a grown-up to let you do it. Did it work? Were you successful in getting what you wanted? Something I'd love for us to do while we're reading today is look for different syllables in the text. Syllables are beats in a word. Sometimes it helps to clap it out. Adults still do that too sometimes. Let's use your name, for example, Jessica. How many syllables is Jessica? Let's clap it out together. Jessica. Did you get 3? I got 3 too. So the learning target for today is I will identify or find syllables within a text. If you were in my class, this may look familiar to you. My third graders would create a chart like this in their journals. You can too, or just kind of follow along with us as we do it on here. We can start off by looking for 1-syllable words, then like then move on to 2-syllable words, wanna, and then 3-syllable words, iguana. And let's try some different words. How about some of my personal favorite things? Coffee, you try. Coffee, I got 2 syllables. Tacos, tacos, I got 2 syllables again. And exercise, exercise. Hey, that was 3 syllables. They're getting bigger. And the last one, I don't know how to play, but my students were expert at it. How about let's try Minecraft. Minecraft, I got 2 syllables as well. Okay, let's find out if Alex is successful at persuading his mom in I Wanna Iguana. All right, let's get started. Here's I Wanna Iguana. Dear Mom, I know you don't think I should have Mikey Gulligan's baby iguana when he moves, but here's why I should. If I don't take it, he goes to Stinky, and Stinky's dog Lurch will eat it. You don't want that to happen, do you? Signed, your sensitive son, Alex. And again, while you're reading, just kind of looking for random different words, let's try the word sensitive and clap that out. Sensitive. That's a 3-syllable word. Dear Alex, I'm glad you're so compassionate, but I doubt that Stinky's mother will let Lurch get into the iguana's cage. Nice try, though. Love, Mom. There's a big word in there that I saw, the word compassionate. Let's try that. Compassionate. Ooh, that's a 4-syllable word. Dear Mom, did you know that iguanas are really quiet and they're cute too? I think they are much cuter than hamsters. Love, your adorable son, Alex. Dear Alex, tarantulas are quiet too, but I wouldn't want one as a pet. By the way, that iguana Mikey's is uglier than Godzilla. Just thought I'd mention it. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, you would never have to see the iguana. I'll keep his cage in my room on the dresser next to my soccer trophies. Plus, he's so small, I bet you'll never even know he's there. Love and a zillion and 1 kisses, Alex. He's trying to be really persuasive there. Dear Alex, iguanas can grow to be over 6 feet long. You won't have enough space in your whole room, much less on your dresser, with or without your trophies. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, it takes 15 years for an iguana to get that big. Mikey told me. I'll be married by then and probably living in my own house. Love, your smart and mature kid, Alex. And again, let's look for different syllables there. Probably, let's try that out. Probably. Hey, that's 3. If you were keeping track and wanted to, you could add that right under there. Dear Alex, how are you going to get a girl to marry you when you own a 6-foot-long reptile? Love, your concerned mother. That means worried mom. Dear Mom, forget the girl. I need a new friend now. This iguana can be the brother I've always wanted. Love, your lonely child, Alex. Aww. Dear Alex, you have a brother. Love, Mom. Oops. He's not doing a good job convincing her. Kind of thinking, I wonder if he's going to persuade her or not. Dear Mom, I know I have a brother, but he's just a baby. What fun is that? If I had an iguana, I could teach it tricks and things. Ethan doesn't do tricks. He just burps and poops. Loved, grossed out Alex. Try burps. Burps. I heard one syllable. Poops. Poops. One syllable. Dear Alex, how do I know you're ready for a pet? Remember what happened when you took home that class fish? Love, Mom. Uh-oh, what do you think happened? I'm thinking that something not so great. Dear Mom, if I knew the fish was going to jump into the spaghetti sauce, I never would have taken the cover off the jar. Love, your son, who has learned his lesson. P.S. Iguanas don't like spaghetti. Dear Alex, let's say I let you have the iguana on a trial basis. What exactly would you do to take care of it? Love, Mom. Yikes. Dear Mom, I would feed him every day. He eats lettuce. And I would make sure he had enough water. And I would clean his cage when it got messy. Do you see how he's trying to convince her? Love, responsible Alex. P.S. What's a trial basis? Dear Alex, a trial basis means Dad and I see how well you take care of him for a week or two before we decide if you can have him forever. Remember, Stinky and Lurch are waiting. Love, Mom. P.S. If you clean his cage as well as you clean your room, you're in trouble. Uh-oh, that tells me his room's not kept very clean. Dear Mom, I'll really try to clean my room and the iguana's cage. Also, listen to this. I'll pay for the lettuce with my own allowance. I mean, how much can one baby iguana eat anyway? Love, Alex, a financial wizard. I'm looking at the word allowance. Allowance. There's 3 syllables if you want to add that to your chart. Are you sure you want to do this, Alex? Yes, Mom. I want an iguana. Please. Take bets on who thinks he's going to get what he wants. Did he persuade her enough? Dear Alex, look on your dresser. Love, Mom. Do you think it's there? Yes. Thank you. Awesome. So he got what he wanted. And we were also able to look for the different syllables. We identified the syllables within a text. I didn't write them down, but you can always go ahead and do that in any of the books that you read, or even if a grown-up or a brother or sister reads something aloud to you, as you're reading, kind of just keeping track of those different syllables. Thanks for reading with me today. So we just finished reading the story together, looking for those different syllables, which you did great at. And one thing I like to do with my students is something called SWIBs. If you are in my class or anywhere in Federal Way, I think you've heard of SWIBs. It's kind of a great way to help summarize a story. So that stands for somebody in, wanted, but so. So the somebody is one of the main characters. In, what's the setting? Wanted, what was the character's motivation or what did they want? But, what's the problem? And then so, how did that problem get solved? So let's try that with I want an iguana. Thinking about the main character, oftentimes, again, there are more than one main characters in a story, but we want to make sure we choose one and stick with that. So I would say let's choose Alex as the main character. Alex, in, and the setting, where did it mostly take place? I would say it's in his home. So Alex in his home, wanted, and hey, it's usually not this easy, but it's right in the title here for this one. So he wanted that iguana. So that's that it's already kind of done for us. So Alex wanted that iguana. But, and here's a tricky part where sometimes there's multiple small problems within a story, but we want to think of the main one that also connects with the wanted. So I would say his mom didn't want him to have one. So that was the problem for Alex. So then we get to the solution, and we need to make sure that the problem and solution, those connect. So how did the problem, get solved, and how did the story end? So what did Alex do? His mom didn't want him to have an iguana, so he wrote letters back and forth to her, convincing her in the end to get his pet iguana. So if you are writing this down, I always tell my students to have that in a complete sentence. We start off in a chart, but then make it a complete sentence that looks something like this. So here we just did somebody in wanted but so as a summary, a very quick summary. So we have Alex in his home, wanted a pet iguana, but his mom didn't want him to have one. So Alex convinced his mom by writing letters, and he got a pet iguana. So you can see there, we very, very, very quickly trimmed down that story and made it a quick summary. Parents, you can have your students do this either orally, they can say it to you, or a big brother or sister, and you can always ask for comprehension on a chapter book they read or a book that they finished or listened to. You can always ask, what was the swibs of that? How many of you have heard about opinions? I know in my class, we talked about some opinion writing, and I wanted to show you how we kind of get started on that. So an opinion is your view about something. So for example, in my opinion, which this might not be a very popular opinion, I like pineapple on my pizza. This, you can disagree with me if you want, but in my opinion, I personally like pineapple on my pizza, so you can't tell me I'm wrong. That is my opinion. That's an example of something that's an opinion. Here's a non-example. Pineapple is a fruit. That's a true fact, so I can't call it an opinion. So there's kind of a difference between there's an example and then a non-example. Based on our reading, though, what I wanted to do, based on I Want Iguana that we got to read together, I wanted to talk about an opinion piece that we could kind of start together. If you guys were here with me in class, which I wish that you guys could be all together, we would do just kind of a brain dump of ideas. I would get some from you, and your peers would be able to share kind of different opinions that they had. I want to use I Want Iguana as kind of an example. So I know I have a personal example that, in my opinion, when I was younger, maybe your age, in elementary school, I really wanted a pet dog. We never had one as a family, so that's one example of, in my opinion, I could write something to my family, my parents, and tell them, hey, I'm ready for a dog. Here's my opinion. You could have other ideas. I hope you're thinking of some. I wish I could hear and see what you guys are thinking. But other things are, maybe you wanted more TV time. There you go. Maybe you wanted a certain video game or a toy, and you had to try and convince or persuade your family to get you that because, in your opinion, you really wanted that. I'm going to use a pet dog as my example. So first, one thing writers do is go ahead and brainstorm some ideas before they just start writing. So in opinion writing, there's a special graphic organizer that we use to help capture our ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the target first. So the learning target for today, again, our goal or our focus on what we're doing is I will use the writing process to write an opinion paragraph. Now, some of you, this might be your first time hearing this. So we're just kind of going to start slow and then progress throughout the week. So the writing process, again, that means it's going to take a long time. I know authors and other writers and friends in my class, when we were writing, we would never just be done. It would always continue on. So that's why writing is a process and it takes some time. So we were already able to come up with our ideas, which was great. And then we use something called our opinion graphic organizer, and we like to call it Oreo. And you're like, what? We have some Oreos on the side, but as a challenge, we call it Oreo because we want 2 reasons in our writing. So that's kind of a challenge. You could do OREO and just skip to the bottom here where you restate your opinion. But as a challenge, I think some friends are able to come up with at least 2 reasons and 2 examples. And that can make your piece much stronger. So we call it OREO. You can say that. It's fun to say. So first thing, we're not going to use complete sentences on here. I just want to use my idea that I had. I know I'm going to write about my pet dog and then put that in my graphic organizer. This will help me just to keep my thoughts all organized so I'm not scattered all over the place. So in my opinion, I'm not even going to write complete sentences, which is woohoo, some of you are excited about that. I know I'm going to be writing about, I want a pet dog. So I'm going to just write that in my opinion. I'm going to worry about complete sentences and spelling and everything later. Right now, that's not important. Now I need a reason, though, on why I should have a pet dog. And I'm wondering if this works. How many of you have tried, please, 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 to your parents or brother or sister? I know in my family that didn't really work for them. How about begging, please, I want a dog, please, I need one now, please? That didn't work in my family either. So I really need a reason. And you tell me if this is a good one. Because I want a dog. I want one because I want one. Is that really a reason? I know my parents did not say, okay, you can have a dog just because you said you wanted one. So I really want to try in an opinion piece, try to convince or persuade my parents to get to think what I'm thinking. And I want them to say, hey, I want you to have a dog. So one reason I'm thinking about, and I'm actually going to use, I want iguana as an example. Not copy it, but I'm going to use it for some of my thinking skills because he had a really good reason that I kind of want to use. So, dear mom, I would feed him every day. He eats lettuce, and I would make sure he had enough water, and I would clean his cage when it got messy. Love, responsible Alex. So that tells me he's telling his parents, his mom, that he is responsible. And hey, I think I'm pretty responsible too. So I'm just going to write that word. Again, don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about writing in complete sentences now. I just want to get my thoughts down. And then the E in OREO, I need to come up with an example or evidence. And that's from my personal experience. So growing up, I really did have some pet fish, and I'm going to use that as my part of my example, saying, hey, I'm responsible because when we had pet fish growing up, I would feed the fish. So notice again, I'm just writing down my thoughts. I know when I come back to this later, though, that I'm going to remember this. Another reason, so we want to come up with something different, and I'm really remembering going back to, I want to make sure that I'm sticking on topic to talk about that I really want a dog, is that I would walk it. I'm going to be responsible. This kind of goes with this, but it's a different reason. I'm going to focus on being the one to take care of it and go for walks. And down here, I'm going to say I walk every day. And maybe that's just around your neighborhood, or maybe telling your parents that, hey, I know you're busy, so I'm going to do the job. And then here, I'm going to just restate, I want a pet dog. And I know if someone just sees this now, they're kind of like, what? You want to pet a dog? But I know what I'm thinking about, and I'm going to remember that for tomorrow when we put this into complete sentences.
name is Mrs. Nelson, and I will be your mathematical guide these next few weeks as we explore some important third grade math topics and skills that you need to know. Today's learning target is on the screen, and we are going to be working on understanding that multiplication means putting equal groups together to find a total. And also today, our target is to be able to show what a multiplication equation looks like with a picture. So hopefully by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to show that you can do that by reading a multiplication equation as a sentence using the words groups of. So you'll look at an equation and you'll say blank groups of blank. And also being able to draw equal groups to match a multiplication equation. So when we're talking about multiplication, we're just talking about putting equal groups together to find a total. Equal means there's the same number in each group, and the total is how much you have when all of the groups are counted up together. And the way we show multiplication is with this symbol. So it looks like an X. Sometimes you might hear people say times when they're reading a multiplication equation. So here is an example of a multiplication equation. 2 times 4 equals, and then we'll leave the answer blank. When I see an equation like this, I can think about how much I would have altogether if I had 2 groups of 4, or 2 groups with 4 in each group. So when we say reading an equation using the words groups of, to read this equation, I could read it as 2 groups of 4. Now we can think about how to find the total if we had 2 groups of 4 and put them together. There are some different strategies that we can use to find the total, and in the next few videos, you will learn some more of those strategies. Today, I want to show you how you can draw a picture to find the total. So I want you to first just look at our equation, 2 times 4, and think about how that really means we have 2 groups of 4 that we're putting together. And picture in your mind what 2 groups of 4 could look like. Think about what you would draw. When I picture 2 groups of 4, I see something like this. So I did 2 circles, and then I put 4 dots in each one. Hopefully your picture was something similar to that you were seeing in your mind. Now, think about how much we would have all together. If I counted up the dots in my picture, I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all together, 2 groups of 4 is equal to a total of 8. So that's one way you can use a picture to help you solve a multiplication equation. Now it's your turn. So let me clear my screen. And we're going to start with a different multiplication equation. So you get to think about this one. 3 times 3. First, I want you to read this equation using the words blank groups of blank. Except you're not going to say blank, you're going to use the numbers from our equation. So go ahead and you try reading this equation as a sentence, blank groups of blank. Great job. I hope you were able to say 3 groups of 3. That's what this multiplication equation is asking us to figure out. How much would we have if we had 3 groups of 3? Now, can you draw a picture to show what 3 groups of 3 would look like? Nice job. So hopefully you drew a picture showing 3 groups of 3 some way. You could have done it any way you want. I think I'm going to do tally marks this time instead of dots. So there's 2 groups of 3, and here's my last one. Okay, so you can just check your picture. Hopefully it looks similar. It can be a different kind of picture as long as it's showing 3 groups of 3. And now your last step is to figure out what that total would be if you put all those groups together so that we can figure out what 3 times 3 equals. Are you ready? Okay. So hopefully you found the total. When I count my picture, the groups I see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 altogether. So 3 times 3, or 3 groups of 3, is equal to 9 altogether. Think about how you did today when you practiced on your own. Today we learned how to read a multiplication equation as a sentence using the words groups of, and we showed how we can draw a picture to represent a multiplication equation and then use it to solve by counting up to find the total. For more practice on your own, you could try doing pictures to represent some of these equations. 2 times 6, 4 times 4, 3 times 5, and one more to try, 6 times 1. You can also make up your own example problems, read them as a sentence. So for the first one, 2 groups of 6, and then practice drawing your equal groups pictures to solve and find the totals. We were just talking about what multiplication means, how multiplication means putting equal groups together to find a total, and we were practicing reading equations using the words groups of, as well as how we can draw an equal groups picture to help us find the total. So before we move on and learn about some other strategies we can use besides drawing pictures, I want to show one more kind of math picture that we can draw to show and solve a multiplication problem. It's called an array. So I'll write that word here on the screen. And an array shows items arranged in equal rows and columns. A row is just a straight line going across from left to right, and a column is a straight line going up and down. So I want to show what this kind of picture could look like to match a multiplication equation we're solving. And I'm going to use one of the problems we looked at earlier. So earlier we talked about how to solve an equation like 2 times 4, which means we're thinking about 2 groups of 4. So to draw an array that shows 2 groups of 4, I can actually draw 2 different types of arrays. One array I can draw is 2 rows of 4. So 2 lines of 4 circles going straight across. I'm going to draw that on my whiteboard here and show you what that looks like. And in an array, it doesn't have to be circles. You can use any kind of symbol or picture. But the important part about your array is that your groups are drawn as rows or columns, so they're laid in a line. So here's an array that shows 2 groups of 4, 2 rows of 4. And the other type of array I could draw, I'm going to do it down below, would be drawing 2 columns or 2 lines going up and down with 4 in each one. So that array could look like this one here. I have a column of 4 and then another column of 4. And if you remember from solving this equation earlier, the total should still be 8. So we should be able to see 8 circles in each array. You can do either way. You can do rows or you can do columns. The point is that your array still shows that same total, that 2 groups of 4 is equal to 8. So I'll try to draw the 2 rows of 4 example here so you can see it again. Now let's try looking at a different example problem from earlier. We talked about doing 3 times 3, which remember means we're thinking about 3 groups of 3. So I'll write that equation here for us to see. And I want us to think about what that array could look like if I wanted to draw an array. So last time we were drawing equal groups. I think I drew 3 squares and each square had 3 tally marks inside of it. This time we're drawing an array. So we want to show either 3 rows, 3 lines going straight across with 3 little circles or squares, some kind of symbol on each row. Or we might want to do it with 3 columns, lines going up and down, and putting 3 symbols in each one. I think this time I'm going to use squares. So I'm going to draw 3 squares in a line going straight across. There's 1 group of 3, and because I'm thinking about 3 groups of 3, I'm going to add 2 more rows of 3 squares. And then next to this array, I'll just show the other kind of picture we were talking about last time. So last time we were drawing our groups like this. And I'm just drawing that equal groups picture next to our array so that you can see that both of those models or math pictures show us that 3 groups of 3 altogether is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can see in my other picture, I have those 9 little dots all together. So the reason I wanted to share this as our second part of our lesson is so that you can see another type of math picture, an array, that you can use to draw, to show or represent a multiplication equation. Now I want you to try, and I'm going to show some of those example equations that I told you earlier you could try on your own. So let's see. First, let me clear my board. Oops. And one of the problems I told you you could try on your own from last time was 2 times 6. So remember, that means if we're reading that equation and we're using the words groups of, we're thinking about 2 groups of 6. Think about what kind of array you could draw to show 2 groups of 6. You could either draw 2 rows of 6, so lines going straight across with 6 in each row, or you could draw 2 columns of 6. I'm going to give you a chance to try on your own, drawing this array or picturing it in your head if you don't have a paper and pencil by you. And in a moment, I will draw one of the arrays you could have been thinking about. Are you ready? So if I drew 2 rows of 6, that could look like this. And hopefully we can use that array, those 2 rows of 6, put together to find the total, to solve 2 times 6. And I see that in this array, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that array helps me figure out that 2 groups of 6, 2 rows of 6, altogether equals 12. Just wanted to share that other kind of math picture that you can draw when we're showing what a multiplication equation looks like. And it's also a strategy to help us figure out the total. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.
Bienvenidos niñas y niños, yo soy la maestra Lorena Vázquez y a partir de hoy vamos a estar aprendiendo matemáticas 4 días a la semana. Espero que me acompañen para que podamos aprender juntos. La meta de hoy es, estoy aprendiendo diferentes estrategias para multiplicar. ¿Han escuchado esa palabra antes? Estrategias. Estrategias son los métodos que usamos o empleamos para resolver un problema. En este caso, van a ser problemas de multiplicar o multiplicación. Al final de nuestra lección, espero que puedan nombrar 4 formas de representar la multiplicación. Multiplicación va a ser nuestra palabra del día. Cada vez que ustedes escuchen la palabra multiplicación, quiero que repitan así. Multiplicación, suma repetida. ¿Qué tal? ¿Quieren intentarlo? Vamos a probar. Multiplicación. Muy bien, excelente trabajo. Espero que estén listos. Vamos a comenzar. Bueno, nuestra meta es aprender diferentes estrategias para multiplicar. Y hoy mi trabajo es nombrarles a ustedes las 4 formas diferentes que podemos representar la multiplicación. Multiplicación, suma repetida. Buen trabajo, recordaron. ¿Pero qué es multiplicación? Multiplicación, suma repetida. Simplemente es combinar grupos iguales. Esto significa que cada grupo de objetos, de cosas, tienen que tener la misma cantidad. Si las cantidades son diferentes, entonces no podemos decir que estamos multiplicando. Solamente sería sumar diferentes cantidades. Eso me lleva a nuestra primera forma de representar la multiplicación. Y es adición repetida. Adición es otra palabra para decir sumar y repetida quiere decir que lo repetimos una y otra vez. Vamos a tomar de ejemplo estas cerezas. Entonces, en este conjunto tenemos 2 cerezas. Vamos a ver, hay 2 cerezas aquí. Entonces, como adición repetida quiere decir que vamos a sumar la misma cantidad una y otra vez, vamos a agregar otras 2 cerezas. ¿Está bien? Y por último, agregamos otras 2. Entonces, en este problema tenemos 2 cerezas más 2 más 2. Ya sabemos que en cada columna, en cada grupo tenemos 2 cerezas. Los grupos son de 2. Pero ¿cuántos grupos hay? Tenemos aquí, cuenten conmigo, un grupo de 2, 2 grupos de 2 y 3 grupos de 2. En total tenemos 3 grupos de 2. Y así, multiplicar o la multiplicación, suma repetida, se puede leer como grupos de, en este caso, 3 grupos, aquí en un círculo de color rosita, de 2. Vamos a ver la siguiente forma que podemos representar la multiplicación. Excelente, creí que casi los engañaba. La segunda forma es grupos iguales. Y como ya les expliqué, grupos o conjuntos iguales quiere decir que tienen todos la misma cantidad. No puede cambiar la cantidad porque si no, no sería multiplicar. Veremos con estos tacos. Entonces aquí tenemos otra vez un conjunto de 2 tacos. Y si agregamos 2 más y 2 más, ¿ven alguna similitud entre el problema de adición repetida y grupos iguales? Tienen razón. Los dos representan el mismo problema. Tenemos en ellos un grupo de 2 más otro grupo de 2 más otro grupo. En total tenemos 3 grupos de 2 tacos en cada grupo. Excelente. Continuemos. También podemos representar la multiplicación. Suma repetida. Muy bien, estén alertas a la palabra clave del día. En una matriz. Una matriz es una manera de acomodar los objetos o dibujar los objetos en filas y columnas. Tomemos, por ejemplo, este solecito, porque es verano y nos encanta que haga solecito aquí en el estado de Washington. Aquí tenemos en esta primera fila 2 solecitos. Vamos a agregar otra fila con 1 sol y 2 soles. Ahora tenemos otra fila con 2 soles más. Agreguemos la tercera. 3 y, bueno, no 3, tercera fila. Así que, ¿cuántas filas tenemos aquí? Porque en este problema, las filas representan los grupos, la cantidad de grupos. Así que veremos, tenemos aquí, muy bien, tenemos una fila o grupo, 2 filas o grupos, 3 filas o grupos. En este problema también representado en una matriz en filas que son horizontales y columnas que son verticales. Pueden hacer eso conmigo, horizontal, vertical. También tenemos 3 grupos de, ¿cuántos solecitos hay en cada fila? 1, 2 en esta primera, 1, 2 en esta segunda y 1, 2 en esta tercera. Así que aquí también tenemos 3 grupos de 2 en una matriz. Excelente trabajo, niños. Ahora, ¿cuál será la última manera que les voy a mostrar el día de hoy para representar la multiplicación? Multiplicación. Suma repetida. Buen trabajo, lo lograron. Esta es una ecuación. Una ecuación muestra las cantidades simplemente como con números. Vamos a ver, en 3 grupos, que todo nuestro ejemplo fue 3 grupos de 2, el primer número se llama factor. Y el primer factor en una ecuación de multiplicación, buen trabajo, es la cantidad que nos dice cuántos grupos hay. El primer factor nos dice cuántos grupos hay y ya sabemos que son 3 grupos. Entonces ponemos el 3. También en una ecuación lleva el símbolo de por. Parece una X. ¿Pueden hacer una X conmigo? Tomen su dedo índice y el otro y crúcenlo. X. Esta palabra en multiplicación significa por. Entonces, 3 por el segundo factor nos dice cuántos hay en cada grupo. ¿Y cuántos hay en cada grupo? Sí, tienen razón, son 2 en cada grupo. Así que ponemos el 2. Se lee 3 por 2 igual a, ¿cuántos serán 3 por 2? 3 por 2. Hay diferentes maneras de mostrarlo. Podemos hacer 2 más 2 más 2. Podemos contar las cantidades 2, 4, 6. Podemos contar los objetos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 por 2 son 6. Así tienen, niños y niñas, aquí están las 4 formas para representar la multiplicación. Excelente trabajo repitiendo la palabra del día conmigo. Tenemos adición repetida, grupos iguales, matriz y simplemente la ecuación. 4 diferentes formas para mostrar lo que es multiplicar. Vamos a intentar con unos ejemplos más. Bueno, niños y niñas, ahora que ya les enseñé cuáles son las 4 formas que representan la multiplicación, suma repetida. Vamos a hacer unos ejemplos juntos y vamos a enfocarnos en la primera, que es adición repetida. Adición es otra manera de decir sumar o juntar grupos. para hacer una cantidad más grande. Y repetida, claro, quiere decir que se repite una y otra vez. La clave es que los grupos tienen que ser iguales. Si no, no es multiplicar. Vamos a empezar con este ejemplo, que son los balones de baloncesto. ¿Cuántos tenemos aquí en este grupo? Tenemos 1, 2, 3, 4 baloncestos. Así que vamos a tener 4 y ponerlo aquí. Y ahora, como se repite y estamos sumando, vamos a agregar el signo de sumar y vamos a repetir poniendo otro grupo de 4 baloncestos. Entonces, aquí tenemos 4 más 4. ¿Cuántos grupos hay? Vamos a ver. Entonces, tomo mi pluma. Aquí tenemos un grupo de 4, 2 grupos de 4. En este ejemplo, tenemos 2 grupos de 4 cada uno. Ahora vamos a pensar 4 más 4, una suma muy fácil para nuestro ejemplo. 4 más 4 son igual a 8. Muy bien. Ahora vamos a ver un ejemplo más. Aquí tenemos algunos espacios. Vamos a ver, vamos a usar los sándwiches. En este grupo tenemos 2 sándwiches en un plato. Así que tenemos un grupo de 2. Y como ya sabemos que adición repetida tiene que ser grupos iguales, vamos a incluir otro grupo de 2. Y como es adición, vamos a tener que incluir el signo de suma, 2 más 2. Y adivinen qué, vamos a agregar otro más otros 2 sándwiches. Ahora, ¿podemos decir quiero manzanas con mi sándwich? No, claro que no, porque si se fijan bien, las manzanas tienen, el grupo de manzanas tiene 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 y 2 no es la misma cosa, entonces no son grupos iguales, así que no podemos usar estas manzanas. Vamos a agregar otros 2 sándwiches. Los vamos a sumar. Y aquí nuestra adición o suma repetida viene siendo 2 más 2 más 2 más 2. Entonces, cada plato, cada grupo tiene 2. Pero ¿cuántos grupos hay? Veremos. Tenemos un grupo de 2. Ay, no funcionó. Aquí está. 2 grupos de 2. 3 grupos de 2. 4 grupos de 2. Si dijeron 4, acertaron. Aquí tenemos 4 grupos de 2. Y si ponen atención, vamos a ver 2 más 2 más 2 más 2 es igual a, ¿cuál será nuestro total? Hay diferentes maneras de poder resolver esto. Una es sumar usando nuestros dedos. 1, 2, 3, 4, más otros 2, 5, 6, más otros 2, 7, 8. Pero una manera fácil también es contar de 2 en 2. 2, 4, 6, 8. Miren qué curioso. En estos dos ejemplos, 4 más 4 o 2 grupos de 4 y 2 más 2 más 2 más 2 o 4 grupos de 2, el resultado es el mismo. Los dos o ambos son igual a 8. Interesante. Para la próxima hablaremos más por qué esto funciona con la multiplicación. Multiplicación. Suma repetida. Buen trabajo. Ahora, quedamos con un ejemplo más. Y es el turno de estas manzanitas, que para mí es una de mis frutas favoritas porque se cosecha y cultiva aquí en el estado de Washington. Pero ya hicimos un ejemplo juntos, ahora les toca a ustedes. De tarea les dejo que intenten hacer y resolver este problema usando este dibujo vamos a contar cuántas manzanas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 manzanas. ¿Y cuántos conjuntos queremos? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No les daré el resultado, pero mañana podremos ver y quizás ustedes puedan crear sus propios ejemplos para mostrarles adición repetida a alguien de su familia. Niños y niñas, lo logramos. Hemos llegado al final de nuestra lección. Nuestra meta de hoy fue: estoy aprendiendo diferentes estrategias para multiplicar. Recuerden, estrategias son los métodos que empleamos para resolver un problema. Y espero que ahora, como dijimos, puedan nombrar 4 formas de representar la multiplicación. Multiplicación. Suma repetida. ¡Qué bien! Lo recordaron. Puedo representar la multiplicación. Multiplicación. Suma repetida. Ya que hoy nos enfocamos en la estrategia de sumas repetidas, me gustaría que compartan con un ser querido todo lo que aprendimos juntos. Mañana nos enfocaremos en una estrategia diferente, grupos iguales. Me encantó estar con ustedes. Diviértanse y nos vemos mañana. Hasta la próxima.